Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so you, our listeners, sent over this huge pile of sources, a real whirlwind of transfer reports.
Yeah, a lot going on there.
And you gave us a pretty clear mission. Make sense of the intense speculation around Real Madrid's young star, Endrick. Cut through all that noise.
Exactly. So today we're focusing on Endrick. He's, 19, center forward at Real Madrid, the Bernabeu.
Right.
And we're going to try and unravel this story. It's about, well, almost unbelievable persistence from one club, West Ham United.
Unbelievable is the word.
And we need to figure out why, after being told no, not just once, but like multiple times, why this loan deal might actually be back on the table.
That really is the core puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
West Ham, WHU, they've been chasing him with this, I don't know, this relentless energy, like something out of a movie.
Oh, really?
Only to get shut down
Uh-huh.
again and again by the player, by Real Madrid. So what's shifted? What's changed on the board that makes this whole thing relevant again?
Right.
Especially when, loaning out a player like him, that's not usually Madrid's style, is it?
Yeah. No, it's definitely high-stakes development we're talking about here. It's this constant balancing act. You've got this potential superstar, maybe a generational talent, and you need to manage his growth long-term.
Right.
But then there's the harsh reality of top-level football. If he's not playing, he's not really developing, is he?
Good point.
So it's not just about, let's find him some minutes somewhere. It's way more strategic. It's like deploying a major asset to maximize his future value. And that's why a simple loan suddenly becomes this huge internal debate for, arguably, the biggest club in the world.
Okay, let's set the scene then. Endrick lands at Madrid. Huge hype, massive expectations. But right now, the story is, limited minutes. Not much playing time.
Mm-hmm.
So to get why he's such a hot target, we have to look at how much he's actually playing, or maybe more accurately, how much he isn't playing in that first team.
Yeah, that's the number one metric everyone's watching, especially rival clubs. He's 19, a striker, and he's not starting regularly, not getting consistent minutes.
Creates an open.
Exactly. It's like a big flashing vacancy sign visible all across Europe. And it's not just recent. Even external analysts spotted this ages ago. We found this analysis from Sports. It's nearly a year old.
Okay.
And even back then, their data was suggesting that Endrick would get, significantly more regular playing time if he went to West Ham specifically, compared to just staying put at Madrid.
Wow, okay. So that analysis is pretty crucial then. It puts West Ham's interest into context.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just like throwing a dart at a board.
Not at all.
They were flagged early on at a potentially good spot for his development.
Precisely. The data pointed towards a better developmental pathway there. And look, while West Ham have definitely been the loudest, the most tenacious ones.
Tenacious is a good word for it.
They're not the only club keeping tabs. Our sources mention Real Sociedad, Valencia, even Newcastle United apparently sniffing around.
Right.
So that wider interest just underlines it, doesn't it? Everyone recognizes the talent, but they also see that, his immediate need for playing time isn't quite being met where he is.
Okay, so if the need for minutes was known basically for almost a year, that brings us to the really astonishing part. West Ham's pursuit. It seriously reads like a drama, The suitor who just keeps knocking even when the door keeps getting slammed shut.
Refuses to take no for an answer is putting it mildly. If you dig into what the journalist Graham Bailey reported, the persistence is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Bailey points out West Ham tried to sign him twice before this current push. This isn't just a new idea because he's maybe frustrated now.
Wait, twice before? So they were in there from the very beginning then?
Right from the get-go.
Correct.
Almost audacious, really. Bailey says they even inquired when he originally arrived in Madrid.
No way.
Yeah. Shows they really believed in him early, maybe trying to grab him before he even settled in. And then later, last winter, when loan rumors started swirling, West Ham were reportedly at the head of the queue.
Wow.
Their interest has just been this constant drumbeat throughout the whole thing, the one consistent element.
Okay, but hang on. Let's talk about those rejections. Because until, the last few weeks, every single time West Ham knocked, the answer was no.
Right, absolutely. Flat rejection.
We've got reports from earlier this year detailing how those loan proposals got shot down by Endrick himself and by Real Madrid. What was Endrick saying back then? Why turn down guaranteed playing time somewhere else?
Well, his stated reason back then was all about the long game. Commitment to Madrid. He said he saw that initial period as a learning experience, prioritizing, soaking up the atmosphere, training with the stars, getting embedded in the club culture at the Bernabeu. He seemed to believe he'd eventually get his chance by just sticking around.
Was that realistic, though? I
Yeah.
mean, you look at Madrid's forward line, established world-class players. Should a 19-year-old maybe have been looking for minutes elsewhere sooner? Is that whole institutional immersion thing just, standard club talk, smoke
Yeah.
and mirrors?
Well, it's definitely a calculated risk, and it's a risk Madrid seemed to back, at least initially. Remember, the manager, Ancelotti, was reported around that time.
Right, when the first inquiries came in.
Exactly. He apparently saw Endrick as a key player for the future. So he dismissed the loan ideas. The club wanted him close, keep total control over his development path.
Right.
There was even an insider, Ekrem Koner, I think, who said back then a January move was just impossible. They really wanted him inside that Bernabeu bubble, no outside influences.
And that institutional control, that desire to keep him in-house, is exactly what makes this latest news feel like such a potential U-turn, a massive shift. So let's get to the present day. What's the big change? What's forced Real Madrid to possibly rethink that keep him here at all costs philosophy?
It looks like external pressure, tied to a very specific, immovable deadline. Just in the last day or so, literally hot off the press, Sport reported that Real Madrid is now actually open to the idea of a loan for Endrick in January.
Wow. Okay, the club that said impossible a few months ago.
Is now seemingly considering it. The drawbridge is potentially being lowered.
And West Ham, who've been waiting patiently outside the castle walls for, a year.
They're right there,
Yeah.
ready. The report mentions them as one of the clubs currently best positioned for the loan.
Makes sense.
But here's the really fascinating part. The reason for this potential policy shift. It doesn't seem to be Madrid suddenly changing their whole development strategy. It looks like it's driven by the players' external career ambitions taking priority.
Ah, okay. You mean the World Cup, the 2026 World Cup with Brazil. That's the new factor driving this, isn't it?
That seems to be exactly it. The goal is stated pretty clearly in the reports. Endrick needs game time. He needs consistent minutes to get back into the picture for the national team and be sharp for 2026.
Right.
If he keeps warming the bench at Madrid, his spot in that Brazil squad could genuinely be in jeopardy. And that changes the whole calculation. It shifts from being purely club-focused to being player-focused, specifically on his international career.
That deadline, the World Cup, that puts Real Madrid in a tricky spot, doesn't it? They've invested a lot in him, banking on him being this generational talent.
Huge investment.
But if his lack of playing time actually hurts his chances on the biggest international stage, well, that impacts his market value, his confidence, maybe even his relationship with the Brazil setup. It's a risk for Madrid, too.
Yeah, the clock is definitely ticking on that World Cup objective. If the minutes just haven't materialized by the time January rolls around, then the risk of keeping him in-house, the risk of potentially damaging his World Cup prep might suddenly look bigger than the risk of loaning him out.
Even to a club like West Ham.
Even to West Ham, it forces Madrid to weigh up the players' international goals against their usual preference for keeping total control. It's a major strategic choice.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because even if the doors is, let's say, slightly ajar now because of this World Cup pressure, the sources are also showing some pretty deep internal conflict at Madrid. It's not like everyone suddenly agreed, yeah, let him go on loan.
No, definitely not. It sounds like a real tug of war is going on. On one side, you've got this breaking news suggesting Madrid is willing to consider a loan.
Right.
But then you have strong conflicting reports. Team talk is one mentioned. They explicitly state that key figures at the club manager Xabi Alonso and the president Florentino Perez think they should not let Endrick go to West Ham on loan.
They're pushing back.
Okay, hold on. That's a clear contradiction. But earlier, didn't we say Ancelotti dismissed the loan because he saw Endrick as key? Now Alonso and Perez are resisting.
Oh.
Does that mean there's a split in the hierarchy? Or maybe the reporting is just getting different signals from different parts of the club?
It certainly raises questions, doesn't it? The sources paint a picture of, well, continued powerful resistance from the very top Perez and maybe key figures involved in long-term planning like Alonso.
Right.
Even if maybe the first-team coach, Ancelotti, sees the short-term benefit for the player, it really pits that core institutional belief. Keep your best assets close, keep them at the Bernabeu against the practical reality of the player needing minutes right now. So it's the strategic argument, World Cup prep, guarantee him game time, versus the institutional argument, maintain control, integrate him our way
Yeah.
on our timeline.
That's exactly the conflict. It's how these huge clubs grapple with managing world-class potential. They're constantly weighing things up. Does the immediate benefit of guaranteed competitive football somewhere else outweigh the risk of losing direct oversight?
Mm-hmm.
The resistance from Perez and Alonso suggests they still believe they can provide that development internally. Or maybe they think the risk of sending him into, say, the physical Premier League under another coach is just too high a gamble.
But the sources seem pretty clear on the current situation, right? Graham Bailey's latest take really hammers home why West Ham are still in this conversation at all.
Yeah.
It's because, simply put, Endrick's time at Madrid has not yet worked out for the player. The lack of minutes is just undeniable.
That lack of minutes is the vulnerability. It's the crack in the door that West Ham is trying to wedge open. And because that reality exists, Bailey insists a loan cannot be discounted. West Ham's frankly ridiculous persistence might finally have found a genuine opening. But it's an opening created entirely by Madrid's own struggles so far to get him playing regularly.
Okay, so let's wrap this deep dive up. For you, the listener, hopefully you've got a clearer picture now of this whole saga.
Yeah.
West Ham's incredible, almost 2-year chase has finally run into a potential opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not driven by money, really, but by the player's own strategic deadline, that 2026 World Cup. So the whole thing boils down to this debate between strategic pragmatism for Endrick's international career
Versus Real Madrid's fundamental desire for institutional control, keeping him under their roof.
So the key takeaway seems to be this clash of priorities. Will the player's urgent need for guaranteed top-level games, which, actually serves Madrid's long-term interests too, by making him better, finally win out?
Or will the sheer influence of figures like Perez and Alonso who want him kept safe at home prevail? That World Cup clock is ticking loudly now. It's become a really powerful negotiating chip in all this.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this and trying to figure out what happens next? It feels like the deciding factor is going to be which pressure point matters most come January.
Yeah.
If Endrick's #1 goal really is maximizing his playing time for the World Cup, and a move to West Ham, logically, offers that, does the weight of the Brazilian national team's expectations finally give him the leverage to say yes to a loan?
Or does the institutional weight, the power of Madrid's top brass, ultimately keep him rooted at the Bernabeu? Even if that means risking those crucial minutes he needs right now, that tension, that strategic choice, that's what's going to define this transfer story in the coming months.